You know, the NFL rumor mill always has some wild stories. But this one feels like someone just tossed a grenade right into the middle of training camp. Multiple sources, including some close to the Cleveland Browns, are saying that Shedeur Sanders, the rookie quarterback who wowed everyone in his very first NFL game, has asked for a trade. And not just to any random team. He wants the New Orleans Saints. Yep, the same team that openly passed on him over and over during the draft. This is the same Shedeur Sanders who, in just one preseason game, almost set a TV ratings record. For NFL Network, the same guy whose name went viral, with analysts, fans, and even rival players raving about his calm under pressure, clean throwing mechanics, and flashes of elite discipline. And yet, even after all that, even after a debut that had Browns fans dreaming about finally having a franchise quarterback, reports say he's ready to leave Cleveland before playing a single regular season snap. But here's where it gets even crazier. Word is, Browns owner Jimmy Haslam, who has already admitted Shedeur wasn't his choice in the draft, is willing to trade him for as little as a 7th-round pick or some kind of conditional compensation, future star. For a price so low, it feels like outright robbery. That's the kind of move that would keep sports talk radio busy for weeks. And if the Saints pull it off, they wouldn't just be fixing one of the most criticized draft decisions in recent memory. They'd be snatching a rising star right out of Cleveland before the season even begins. So, how did we get here? That's where the real story starts. Right now, the Browns' quarterback room feels less like a carefully planned NFL depth chart and more like a crowded reality. TV house, too many personalities shoved into one space, and eventually, someone's getting kicked out. At the top, you've got Joe Flacco, respected, but at 39 years old, clearly not the future. Then there's Dillon Gabriel, a rookie from Oregon who's promising, but still adjusting to NFL speed. Kenny Pickett came over after being let go by the Philadelphia Eagles, and he's still trying to find the confidence he had back in college. Tyler Huntley's in there too, steady but unspectacular. Basically signed just to fill gaps after all the recent injuries. And then there's Shedeur, poised beyond his years, with a debut that made people sit up and pay attention. But despite everything he showed against the Panthers, he's still stuck in a 5-man quarterback pileup that makes no sense for a young player's development. 5 quarterbacks, 1 football, 0 long-term answers. And here's the part fans can't ignore. Shedeur isn't the owner's guy. Jimmy Haslam himself has admitted that if you told him on draft night the Browns were taking Sanders, he would have said, "That's not happening." That's not just some throwaway comment. That's basically admitting Shedeur was never going to get the red carpet treatment in Cleveland. NFL locker rooms run on politics just as much as they run on the playbook, so that matters, and that's exactly why this trade talk feels like more than just background noise. But to really understand the tension, you've got to go back to draft day and how Shedeur ended up in Cleveland in the first place. The NFL draft is a spectacle, bright lights, cameras, and war rooms buzzing with tension. But when Shedeur Sanders slipped out of the first round, then the second, and kept falling all the way into day 3, the vibe shifted from surprise to full-on disbelief. This was a quarterback once projected to go in the top 2 picks, a Heisman-caliber leader at Colorado, the son of NFL legend Deion Sanders, with the mental toughness and marketability teams dream about. And yet, pick after pick came in, and his name stayed on the board. The Cleveland Browns passed on him 6 different times before finally taking him with the 144th pick in the 5th round, and even then, it didn't feel like the celebration you'd expect for a potential franchise QB, because Jimmy Haslam, the Browns' hands-on owner, later admitted something that now feels like the key to this whole situation. Shedeur wasn't his pick. Haslam told reporters, "If you had told me Friday night we picked Shedeur, I would have said that's not happening." Think about that. The guy who signs the checks and makes the big calls never pictured Shedeur in orange and brown. In NFL politics, that's not just a casual remark. That's a flashing neon sign. It means you're not protected. It means if things shift, your spot in that locker room is far from guaranteed. So from the start, Shedeur was fighting uphill, not just for the starting job, but for a place in the Browns' long-term plans. Now, when you put that reality side by side with what's happening in New Orleans, the pieces start clicking into place. And this trade talk starts to feel very real. If the Browns' quarterback room feels overcrowded, the Saints' situation is the complete opposite, an empty cupboard filled with question marks. The first big blow came in the offseason. Derek Carr, the veteran they thought would hold down the job for another year or two, suddenly retired. That left the Saints scrambling, with three very different but equally unproven quarterbacks fighting for QB1. First, Jake Henner, a young QB who's had some moments in relief, but has never truly looked like a long-term starter. Then Spencer Rattler, a former college star whose NFL career still hasn't taken off. And finally, Tyler Shaw, the 26-year-old rookie the Saints took in the second round at pick 40. That move shocked fans, especially since Shedeur Sanders was still on the board. Then came the preseason opener against the Chargers, and it only made things worse. Shaw threw a brutal pick-six, a pass read perfectly by rookie corner Eric Rodgers, and Saints Twitter erupted. Henner and Rattler got their snaps too, but neither gave the offense any kind of spark. The online reaction was ruthless. Fans weren't just ripping the play on the field, they were going after the front office's decisions, one post said. Shaw garbage, Rattler poop, could have had Shedeur Sanders. Another simply read, still in disbelief they passed on Shedeur. This will haunt us for years. And honestly, they're not wrong. In New Orleans, passion runs deep, and the quarterback position is sacred. Right now, Saints fans are watching. The one that got away, light it up, in Cleveland. While their own options keep falling flat, that's the kind of setup where regret turns into desperation. And desperation, that's when blockbuster trades are born. Sometimes all it takes is one game to flip the whole story. For Shedeur Sanders, that game was the Browns' preseason opener against the Carolina Panthers. Let's set the scene. Shedeur didn't show up to training camp as the chosen starter. He wasn't even getting steady first-team reps. Most people figured he'd spend the preseason mostly on the sidelines, stuck behind Joe Flacco and the other vets. But when his number got called, he made every single snap count. Sanders went 14 for 23, throwing for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns. And it wasn't just about the stats. It was the kind of presence you can't put on a box score. His footwork, sharp. His throws, confident. His timing with receivers looked like he'd been in the league for months, not minutes. And the best part? Not once did he look rattled. It wasn't just Browns fans taking notice. NFL Network's numbers for that game were some of the highest ever for a preseason matchup. Clips of Shedeur's throws blew up on social media, pulling in millions of views in just hours. Analysts who were doubters before were suddenly calling him the steal of the draft. And the Saints, oh, they were watching. Not just the front office, the fans, the media, and every player in that locker room. While Shedeur was slicing up the Panthers' defense, their own QBs were struggling to hit routine passes. It was the kind of performance that makes you rethink everything, the kind that turns a quiet question about your roster into a loud, unavoidable conversation. In New Orleans, that conversation was already turning into a roar. Regret usually creeps in slow in NFL front offices. But in New Orleans, it's been more like a 5-alarm fire. From the moment Shedeur stepped off the field in his Browns debut, the noise started, and it hasn't stopped. Local radio in New Orleans has turned the Saints' quarterback decision into a daily punching bag. Callers aren't just frustrated, they're furious. They remember draft night. They remember Shedeur still being available in the second round. And they remember the Saints walking right past him to take Tyler Shaw. Now, every time a Sanders highlight makes the rounds online, it feels like salt in the wound. Sports talk hosts aren't holding back either. One well-known NOLA personality put it plainly. The Saints didn't just miss. They ignored a once-in-a-decade opportunity because they thought they were. Smarter than everyone else, fan reactions online have been even harsher. One tweet said, still in disbelief, the Saints had a choice between Tyler Shaw and Shedeur Sanders, a decision that'll haunt them for years. Another read, lol, they saw Shedeur sitting there and thought, nah, Shaw is our guy. And here's the part that really matters, the Saints locker room isn't deaf to this. Players hear it, coaches read it. Even GM Mickey Loomis can't ignore what's happening. His rookie quarterback is getting roasted online before he's even played a single regular season snap. That kind of heat doesn't just sting, It pushes you to think about bold moves, moves that make the noise go away, and the boldest move of all, bring in the guy you passed on before he becomes a superstar somewhere else. This is where the story stops feeling like fan speculation and starts drifting into real NFL insider talk. Multiple league sources, the kind who usually stay quiet unless they know something's brewing, are talking about a possible Shedeur Sanders trade. And not as some maybe in the off-season idea, they're talking now, before Week 1. Why? Because Browns owner Jimmy Haslam, and we already know this, never wanted Shedeur in the first place. He's admitted it publicly. And in the NFL, if the owner's not invested in you, it doesn't matter how well you play, you're vulnerable. The whispers say Haslam sees the crowded QB room in Cleveland and doesn't want a controversy hanging over the season. Joe Flacco gives you veteran stability. Dylan Gabriel and Kenny Pickett are still battling for their long-term future in Cleveland. Tyler Huntley is the safe, dependable backup, and Shedeur, he's the wild card, the guy fans are falling in love with. That's exactly the kind of distraction some owners want to avoid. And here's the jaw-dropper. The Browns are reportedly willing to move Sanders for as little as a 7th-round pick, or some kind of conditional late-round compensation. That's basically nothing. In NFL trade value, that's clearance pricing for a player who just had one of the most impressive preseason debuts in the last 10 years. For the Saints, it's almost too perfect. They're desperate. They have the draft capital. And they have a front office that knows public opinion is turning ugly fast. If these whispers are true, and every sign points to yes, this isn't just a possibility. It's a powder keg waiting for the match. And in the NFL, timing is everything. Right now, the timing for a Shedeur Sanders trade could not be better. Let's talk about the preseason trade window. This is when teams are still shaping their 53-man rosters. The point in the year when front offices are more open to moving pieces around than at any other time. It's the sweet spot. You've got enough game tape to judge talent, but still, enough roster flexibility to make a bold move before Week 1 kicks off. For Cleveland, trading Shedeur now solves a problem before it explodes. The QB depth chart is clogged, and the more Sanders plays and plays well, the more uncomfortable it gets for the coaching staff. If he starts outshining veterans in practice or games, fans will demand he starts. That's the kind of distraction Jimmy Haslam clearly wants to avoid. For the Saints, the urgency is even higher. They've got 2 more preseason games to figure out who their QB1 will be. If Jake Henner, Spencer Rattler, and Tyler Shaw struggle again this Sunday against the Jaguars, the calls for a QB change won't just come from fans, they'll come from inside the building. And here's the kicker. In the NFL, trades can be done in a matter of hours. One phone call, a quick agreement on compensation, a press release, and just like that, a player's on a new team. If the Saints and Browns get serious, Shedeur could be on a flight to New Orleans before the ink is even dry. That's why insiders believe this isn't some maybe in 2026 story. This is a this weekend story. And if it happens, the entire NFL will be watching. If Shedeur Sanders gets traded to the Saints before Week 1, the ripple effects will shake the league from top to bottom. In Cleveland, fans will be furious. You don't just give away a rookie quarterback who showed poise, accuracy, and leadership. In his very first game, especially not for a 7th-round pick, local sports radio will explode with callers questioning the front office's competence. Jimmy Haslam's decision-making will be under the microscope. Head coach Kevin Stefanski will have to face daily questions about why the Browns moved on so fast, and if Flacco or any of the other quarterbacks struggle, every loss will be framed as the one that got away. In New Orleans, the mood will be the exact opposite. The second Shedeur steps off the plane, Saints fans will treat him like the savior of the franchise. The Superdome will buzz with anticipation. For his first snap in black and gold, merchandise sales through the roof, media attention off the charts. The narrative will flip from the Saints botched the draft to the Saints just pulled off the steal of the decade. Nationally, this becomes the NFL storyline of the preseason. ESPN, NFL Network, sports radio, they'll dissect every angle. Was Cleveland foolish to let him go? Did the Saints just change their season? And what does it mean for the future of both teams? One thing's certain, if this deal happens, the Browns and Saints won't just be in separate conferences. they'll be living in two completely different worlds. Right now, it's all whispers. But in the NFL, whispers have a way of turning into breaking news overnight. The Browns have a quarterback they never planned to draft, a crowded depth chart, and an owner who doesn't seem invested. The Saints have a quarterback crisis, a restless fan base, and a shot to fix their biggest draft mistake before Week 1. One phone call could change everything. And if the rumors are true, by the end of the weekend, Shedeur Sanders could be wearing black and gold while Cleveland is left explaining how they let a future star walk for pennies. The clock's ticking. This is NFL Decode. Thanks for watching. Like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you soon with more NFL updates.